Hello, I'm Carolyn Baker, and I'm delighted to co-facilitate with Terry Chapman our next Weaving Threads of Grief and Joy for the Center for Purposeful Leadership. The first question you may have about this program is, why offer a program on grief for leaders? To begin to answer that question, we may want to look at the first of what we introduce in the course, one of the first principles, which is called the 5 gates of grief. I won't enumerate all of those right now, but the first gate invites us to notice that everything we have ever loved, we will lose. Every person, every animal, every possession, every job, our health, our sense of security, and eventually our own lives. We live in a world swimming in loss, so much so that grief therapist and teacher Frances Weller now speaks of ambient grief. In other words, grief is constantly with us and all around us wherever we are, in the workplace, in the culture, in the destruction of our planet, in our relationships, and in the lives of the people we lead. Whatever our leadership status is, some aspect of grief is never far away. When anyone, whether a leader or not, does not attend to and consciously process their grief, their leadership capacity is compromised or minimized in some way. However, when we have the tools for processing our grief and have support for doing so, our leadership capacity is enhanced. Everyone we lead is impacted by grief just as we are. So when we have the tools for doing our own conscious grief work, we can assist others in doing theirs. Another of the 5 gates of grief has to do with the places in ourselves that did not receive love. In other words, there are parts of us that we've had to send away in order to be accepted. Some of those parts could actually be tremendous allies in our leadership capacity that conscious grieving allows us to draw on. We now live in a world where loss and trauma are a daily occurrence, or sometimes occurrences that happen several times a day. In addition to the losses and traumas that we have personally experienced as individuals, everyone around us seems to be navigating their own, both in and out of the groups we lead. But there is some good news in all of this. When people learn the tools of conscious grieving and have support for using them, they almost always experience a sense of being more alive and vital. And with that comes deep joy. This is the paradox of intentional grief work. On the one hand, we feel the grief, but as we do, our capacity to feel and cherish joy is profoundly enhanced. And thus the title of our program, Weaving Threads of Grief and Joy. We value your leadership, and because we do, we want you to join us October 28th and 29th as together we weave these threads with the intention of creating a new cloth, a cloth of leadership and wholeness in a broken world. I look forward to working with you in October as we explore conscious grieving.